Greetings, folks, and welcome to what I guess is the follow-up video on my main computer upgrade. A video which went public not that long ago. And yes, even though it's bound to get me a lot of fan mail, I'm shooting this video with a standard definition camcorder. I mean, not the best camera in the world. I wanted to use this one, but as it turns out, battery's dead. These are the only two camcorders that have readily presented themselves. The rest of them are in a bag. I don't know where I put that particular bag. So this is the camcorder that we're going to use. And if you got a problem with it, too bad. It's my YouTube channel. It's amazing. There's a lot of videos that I have uploaded where I have demonstrated air compressor or used air compressor video footage, and I oftentimes get complaints about the air compressor footage, but most of the time when I get a complaint about it, it's because people don't really understand how physics work, and they exclaim that by blowing air into a fan, you're going to blow your computer into the outer bands of the Kuiper belt, which isn't how electricity works, but sure. But there's a first time for everything, I guess, and I finally had somebody complain about the fact that I had air compressor footage in the video and did not do anything to the audio track to eliminate the noise. And of course, as is typical for these whiners, it got melodramatized into
Oh, my freaking ears!
because, you know, 2 minutes of somewhat higher than normal ambient sound is ear-piercing and will cause you to lose your hearing. Sure. Alright. First of all, I edit my videos on headphones. And I mean, you could probably play the card of, oh, well, you know that it's coming. Sure, I guess that's fair, but still, I don't adjust my volume level when I'm editing the video. And second of all, I want to show you something here. Let's go ahead and bring up a YouTube video window. This is what your typical YouTube player looks like at this particular day and age. But you'll find something here in the playback controls. If you take a look, this is a volume control. Even with as much as the folks here love to change this site, this volume control is still here. And when you hear the cue in the video, I'm going to get out the air compressor and clean this thing out, that is probably your cue to turn the volume down. Very simple, very easy, very painless. Melodramatizing the fact that you're not smart enough to follow audio cues in my comment section does not garner you any sympathy. Certainly not from me, anyway. Anyway, now that we're done with that particular bit of editorializing, rationale, because I always get a lot of comments about why I do the things that I do, and that certainly has been the case here. As I mentioned in the video, at the beginning of the video, I talked about how my main computer was having stability problems, and they were fairly major stability problems that I had solved by running Prime 95 24/7 on a select number of CPU cores. That's not really a tenable fix. I do want to point out, and you can consider this foreshadowing because it certainly is, I've made videos about it that will be coming out in the future. The CPU was the problem. It wasn't the power supply, it wasn't the video card, it wasn't the motherboard, it wasn't the RAM, it was the CPU. Whatever. At the time I didn't know that. I had wanted to upgrade my CPU anyway. What I ended up with really wasn't the upgrade that I wanted, but it was the way that it worked out. But the budget for the upgrade really basically ran to a CPU and a heatsink, and that's it. The idea behind the rest of it was reuse whatever you can. And so I did. I happen to have a fondness for older cases. You know, there's a lot of people that will say, oh, well, the airflow in newer cases is better. So what? I don't need flashy RGB fans in my face. This works just fine. Now, this is probably not a be-all and end-all, but that doesn't look too bad, right? And it's never overheated and shut down, even in this case. I have no desire to buy a new case. I mentioned a whole bunch of that in the video because they don't have it. Forget about drive bays for a minute here. They don't have the front panel ports that I want to have in a computer. Most of the cases that you can buy have no front panel USB. They have no front panel audio. It's questionable whether or not they've even got a reset switch or anything like that. Now, yes, I know we're not in the Windows Vista days anymore. You don't really need a reset switch, but it's a nice thing to have. They certainly don't have hard drive LEDs anymore, and that's something that I want in a computer. And then, of course, modern cases don't have drive bays, at least not most of them. Some of them do. Some of them have got a 3.5-inch bay you can put a card reader in, but most of them don't. And there's a lot of people that will go around out there and say, well, what the hell do you need an optical drive for? Just get a USB one. To which I reply, what the hell am I wasting a valuable USB port for when I can have something that's built into the computer, doesn't take up extra space, and works perfectly fine? Take a look at my YouTube channel for about 5 seconds and you'll know that I do a lot of work with older computers. Having an optical drive is basically a necessity to do any of that. So too is having a floppy drive, but I've got that covered. I don't need to have that covered with this machine. And yes, I know a USB drive could do the same thing too, but again, it comes back to the idea of why am I burning a valuable USB port on something when I could just have one built in? I guess we've just kind of lost sight of that as a society. But again, I come back to the notion of cost. Because as mentioned, the only thing that was really in the budget was CPU and a heatsink, and I guess a power supply, because I replaced the power supply with a brand new one as well. But there you go. I had that power supply for a while, so I didn't necessarily buy it for this project, although I did buy it for this project. That's neither here nor there. I saw no need to upgrade my video card. I saw no need to change my motherboard. I saw no need to change the RAM, as long as all of those things were still working, which turns out to have been the case. You know, why am I spending all this extra money on something when I can have this, and I'm going to have to spend extra money again later anyway in order to get an upgrade, because this is going to be obsolete in about 5 minutes. There's a lot of people out there that love to say, oh, just go balls to the wall right away and spend all the money, and then everything is going to be obsolete again in about 2 years, and you got to spend all that money all over again. Spend it piecemeal, you know? Buy a better video card, and then, 2 years later, buy a better CPU. I think above all else, though, one of the things that really kind of amazes me is that everybody always thinks about things in the frame of gaming. I use this to, well, basically it's my main computer, but above all else, I use it to edit and render videos. There's a big difference in the requirements for that workflow than there are for gaming. Everybody always talks about how the X3D is so much better for gaming performance. Well, I don't really care. That's not what it's for. Not what the computer's for. This system at some point within the next year is probably going to see a new GPU, but the next upgrade after that is going to end up being a whole complete platform change. I'm going to end up going to the AM5 in all likelihood, because I don't see any reason to go for anything on AM4. Maybe, I guess, you could go for like a 5900X or 5950X, which are pretty cheap chips right about now. I don't know, haven't decided yet, haven't really gone anywhere with that, but the simple fact of the matter is, this is what I got for this system. This is the performance that I get. I'm not unhappy with it. It's been rock stable. I've had no issues with it. At the end of the day, this is where the money made the most sense. And I guess that's where our video ends. I don't really have a whole lot else I need to say. I just really wanted to address those things, the case, why I've got all the devices that I need, why I went with the CPU that I went with. You know, why not just get a bigger video card, gaming performance, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff, and the air compressor noise. So yeah, I think that addresses basically everything that was commented on in that video. And so that is it for me. Thank you for watching. If you have any further comments, provided they are not complaining about the fact that the video is in standard definition, because your efforts would be best directed at someone who cares, please feel free to leave them below.